Thank you for listening today on Revealing Wholeness, sponsored by Infinity Whole Health. Check out our website at infinityWholeHealth.com, where we are revealing the eternal in each individual, the infinite in the individual. The creativity is made manifest. Limitation is let go. Now, here's your host, Dr. Troy Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson at Infinity Whole Health. And how do we take the fear out of the viral hysteria that's running around today? And I want to give you an overall view of what a virus is. What does it mean to us? How important is it for us? And why should it be viewed in a positive light and in a good light? And I'm going to get to those questions about people dying from infections or flus or viruses or what have you. I'm still going to cover that so you have an idea of what's happening in that scenario as well. But suffice to say, let's say that you've probably had an update on your phone and it came through and it did things to your phone that you did not particularly care for. Let's say you had an update to your computer system and you didn't really like what it did to it either. But now let's say that same information came in, and instead of you saying, I think I'm just going to push the button and hope for the best, but everything that it wanted to do in that upgrade, you actually could have 200 experts that reviewed everything and allowed certain things to come through and other things to not come through. That is the complexity of the nervous system and our immune system in order to take that material in. So let's back up a little bit and say, what are you talking about? Every packet of DNA that comes into us that we breathe in, which we assume that last statistics I checked was 50,000 different microbes we breathe in every hour and have all of our life. And of that particulate, some are viral particles that are encapsulated. Now, our immune system grabs onto that viral packet of information, that communication from the rest of the world, and pulls it in and starts analyzing it. And it's running it through many protein readers, as well as those that may suppress the information too. And they have to have absolute agreement in order for you and I to change our genetic code, our communication. So let me give you a kind of a real world example. Let's say that we have a flower, and a flower blooms and it's attracting bees so that they'll come and land on it and carry their genetic material to other flowers as a means of communication, and sometimes over quite distances. The wind will carry it even further. And so that pollen now becomes a packet of information, or we could just simply call it a book. I'm sending the book of my life story out to all of you, says the flower. And so the bees help carry those books around as librarians to now get that information out. And now the other flowers take it in and say, oh my gosh, this is what's happening over here. And this is how this plant had to deal with it and the changes that they made to their genetic structure that helped them survive. That plant then gets to decide, do I take this information in? Do I become stronger? And the moment that it says, yeah, this is good information, it runs through all of its checks and balances and things that might even suppress it and say, you know what, I think we're going to let this genetic code fly and integrate it into our genome and move on to the next stage of our development or adaptation. Now, humans are the same way. Why would we reinvent the wheel when this is already how things work? To give you another example, this is how we don't reinvent the wheel. Your red blood inside your body is hemoglobin. So that's what makes blood red. Why is it red? Because hemoglobin as a structure has an iron core in the middle of it. If we were to punch out that iron core and put a magnesium in the middle of it, it would turn green and it would just look exactly like the chlorophyll we see in plants. So we share this genetic makeup with plants, even on that kind of a molecular level. It's quite elegant. And so here we are breathing in viral particles and we think they're alive and that they're out to get us. They are not. They are books. Books for our immune system to read and to peruse. And we have literally 200 proteins that we've now seen and have figured out that are trying to make sure that if we should even take in this new genetic material. So let's say that this new book comes from China and we take it in and we now look at it and we're scanning, say, wow, this is important new information we need to know about what's happening in our environment. And so our genetic code starts taking that in and starts changing things. And it says, thank you. And we're so happy and so delighted that we took in that information that's going to help us adapt and grow, that we begin actually secreting those same type of genetic codes and encapsulate them and breathing them out for other people to figure out, hey, this is stuff you need to know. This is how I'm communicating with you, not just on a verbal level, not just on a like my facial, stuff or how I'm standing, but I'm literally sending out genetic packets or books so that your body can actually get them and now respond and grow and become more robust and adapt to your environment too, because I love you that much. My body does it. Hey, I want you to be strong so that we can procreate and make sure that we can continue on us. That's how the body is working. And that's what that viral code or genetic distribution is an actuality. And so I hope that kind of all of a sudden kind of starts, flowing in there and saying, you mean I don't have to be afraid of breathing? I don't have to be afraid of a viral particle? We have believed maybe for 2 or 3 decades, probably longer, that we're not even sure that viruses were ever alive. And now that we come full circle and we look at them, these data packets, we pretty much believe that they are not alive and that they're breathed out, they're secreted from our skin, from everything, to communicate with our loved ones in a way that is more deeper level meaningful for our bodies to survive and to thrive and to overcome. So now let's go to the end aspect that you may have questions on. Well, then why do people die, you might say? Well, when your body is already in an overwhelmed state, it's in a diseased state, we now have a very tenuous situation. And when we have all these particulates that are coming in, it now can overwhelm the system, and we have this cascade or this domino effect of things falling. And now we get overwhelmed. And now we have a real dangerous situation. But that's a very rare occurrence. Now, what's rare? Is less than 1% rare? Well, that doesn't seem very rare. Okay, well, how about less than 0.1%? Well, that seems a little bit more rare. You're right, it is a bit more rare, and that's about the percentage that it does. Now, we know that as the flu has gone around for hundreds of years, we've been inoculating people against the flu. You would think that since we've been inoculating people against the flu, that we should see that the amount of people that get the flu go down each year. But every year, it's roughly the same. So we still have this stuff traveling. We haven't made a dent in any of it. If anything, an inoculation only lessens the symptoms that somebody might have, but does not prevent them from getting this transference of this important communication from parts of our country and our world that are trying to tell us what's happening in our environment, and that we're taking in and becoming stronger individuals. Most of us take in that genetic material and we bypass it with flying colors. Now, let me ask you this important question as you're thinking about this. How many people are actually healthy? I mean robust health. Not many. How many people eat wonderful diets and don't eat fast food and don't eat out and actually get enough vegetables and fiber and good proteins and real food that's fresh? You're right, not many. But here we have a virus go around every year called the flu, and less than 0.3% of the population die. That's a really, really potent flu, but most are less than 0.1%. And so most of us, even though we're not healthy and probably have immunocompromised systems, are still able to take this new genetic information, scan it, analyze it, run it through 200 different protein analysts. Imagine if you had a book that you had to have 200 people go through before you could read it. Is this an okay book for me? You'd be waiting forever. But our body literally does it incredibly fast and makes sure that that genetic code can be inserted and that, hey, we can improve beyond this. And that's why the past things that were really bad long ago, like bubonic plague and stuff, don't rerun their course, because we've taken that genetic code in and we become stronger to it and anything that looks like it. So we want to be breathing in this stuff because we want to do it while we're strong and healthy. And we want to do it as well as taking into our consideration our bodies and being healthy. So it does become important that you eat things well for you, that you think things well for you. These are things that are becoming more and more important as we venture down this and as we become even more compact as a society. So don't live in fear all the time that you're going to get something. That isn't the way it happens. We know in our gut that within our gut, in 1 gram, now a gram is a tiny bit of material, but run 1 gram of feces from a baby has 10 to the ninth viruses in it. We think that in our gut, we have between 50 and 70,000 different viruses in our gut right now as you are sitting there. And if those viruses really could at any time overwhelm our system like we're led to believe, we would be instantly dead, all of us. And that's just the viruses in our gut. We haven't even talked about the viral particles that are in our blood, that are in our mucous membranes of our throat and on our lungs. All these tissues have the ability to put out and emit this genetic coding and to spew it into the ether, so to speak, so that we can exchange information and become healthier, stronger, more adaptive to our environment. So I hope this hits you kind of, whoa, is he saying what I think he's saying? Yes, I am. If we were even to look at the ocean, just to give you an example, a liter of ocean water has 10 to the 15th viruses in it. We don't even come close to having that many cells in our body, not even remotely close. In our body, we have 9 times the number of foreign cells, bacteria, viruses, funguses, as compared to our actual cells that are us. We are outnumbered in our body. If they were damaging to us, we wouldn't be here having this conversation. You would not be watching me on this video right now because you would already be dead. You wouldn't even have a chance to exist. But our body has so many safeguards against most of these things. But when our system gets more and more filled with crap and debris from poor diet, poor thinking, poor environment, now our body can be overwhelmed. And yes, it can succumb. Now, is anybody going to live forever? Nobody's done it yet. So I don't think we're going to. So it's not that we want to have a fear of death. We want to have a healthy respect for what that communication system is that we don't understand, called viral particles. And so I hope this helps a little bit. Why you're now seeing states, one of the Midwest states just made it illegal to have to mandate a mask. We're not here doing that stuff. We're not a state of a nanny state. But there's other countries out there that have never mandated masks because they get it. They get that if we're going to have herd immunity, real herd immunity, it's going to come from sharing information and not inhibiting that flow. And those that may feel that they are compromised, that their system's already very sick, and they're elderly and they're not sure about their own health, then by all means, let's get them healthy by eating better, thinking better, cleaner environment, and then being able to say, okay, let's get you back potent and strong and start breathing air again. But even of those people, how many people on our planet are truly very sick? And yet most of them don't die when one of these flus comes around. Yes, some of them do. But most of them, even as sick as they are still able to change their genetic code and move forward in adaptation. It's amazing how robust your body is and how strong it is. And I want you to come away with that rather than thinking that what's out there is more potent than what's in you. I am going to always bet on a multicellular complex organism as compared to a single cellular organism. My bet's on me every time winning. I am way more complex and way more suited to adapt to anything they can throw at me. And I don't expect to live forever, and neither should you. And that's a conversation we can have at another time. But right now, I think we can actually let go of some of this hysteria and realize the elegance of what's actually out there and been out there for thousands upon thousands of years. And we didn't even breach the topic of what about the last time there was a cataclysmic event in our history where a lot of humans were wiped out, and go beyond that. Viruses have been around, and they're the ones that keep the genetic information safe for that when we actually rebuild and now replicate more humans, if you will, and now populate the earth again, that they come out and they're actually strengthening us to not have this next cataclysmic event happen. And that's where we are at this precipice right now, working against some of those thoughts that are a bit backwards out there, that are very prominent, and trying to move forward.